Today's guest is Trevor Denton from MK Extra, formerly of Sun Ghost and my old band, Genre. Trevor is a gifted musician, excelling at pretty much every instrument he touches. Trevor, thanks for coming on today.
Oh, thank you. Those were very nice words.
Oh, yeah, all true. Do you remember your first memory interacting with punk music or alternative music? Anything that was not like mainstream rock, like Queen, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I was trying to think about that and I had a lot of really young exposure to like punk and alternative before I even really like could like it because my dad like my older brothers listened to a lot of it and I remember like listening to a Minor Threat CD that I just took out of my brother's room and it was like I was like what the I didn't like it at all.
How old were you then?
I was probably how like 11 or 12. So I was
Nice.
like right on the cusp of kind of finding my own individual taste. But the main thing I remember that like was like my own thing was back when like even before like AOL Instant Messenger when AOL was just like chat rooms like Wild West chat rooms where like anyone could just do anything, say anything in there
Yeah.
managed to like find another person who was like interested in like punk and emo and uh it
So, like,
was like,
what bands at that point?
at that point I really liked Jimmy Eat World because they were like the neighborhood band and so that had me like into the emo.
Being from Mesa, Arizona.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. um my mom gave the drummer piano lessons as our big claim to fame.
Whoa.
But yeah, that was I found like a pen pal there, and we were like sending each other like literal mixtapes, like cassette tapes. I think we may have only sent one each to each other, but I just remember that mixtape was where I like heard like a whole handful of bands that I got really into for like the next decade, and it was like the Get Up Kids and Hot Water Music and uh, I don't even remember who else. Those are like the two really big ones that came off of there, but the Promise Ring and stuff. But I remember that being like the first time I listened to something like that where I actually like felt super connected to it, and that was
Yeah,
thanks.
Minor Threat can be kind of
To,
alienating for an 11-year-old.
yeah, for
Like, why
sure.
are they so? I don't get why they're so angry.
Yeah, you don't know what to be mad about yet.
What was your first experience making punk or alternative music? Like, what kind of technology did you have available to you when you had the urge to first create something like you were hearing on that mixtape?
Oh man, let's see. I think before I even recorded anything, I tried jamming with a couple of friends that I met who were really into NoFX, and we tried to cover one of the songs off of Punk and Drublick. I want to say like Linoleum or Leave It Alone or something, but um,
Classics.
yeah. And then we tried, and it was horrible. We didn't going because we are like, holy shit, that's hard to make sound good. It was just like two kids, guitar and drums, and so we didn't know what we were doing. And but I got an 8 track cassette recorder, like a Tascam uh, thing, and it was like the
Like a
first time,
cassette.
yeah, like on a cassette
Nice.
with, and it was the first time I had ever been able to dub anything over anything else. It was really difficult to figure out how to use, but
Yeah.
that was my first thing, and I made a bunch of just really horrendous sounding stuff, but it really kind of shaped I think how I put things together creatively. It was kind of my first steps into that, but
Did it have a XLR, or
yeah.
did it like I have a Tascam 4-track, but it only has a quarter inch in, so just getting stuff plugged into it is like a creative challenge
Oh,
because
yeah. That was like we were like we kept the Radio Shack in business pretty
yeah, those are good
freaking. Like,
connectors.
like I have a new adapter I need because this thing won't plug into this.
Hmm. When you were a kid, you were into like Jimmy Eat World and Get Up Kids and Hot Water Music and like emo. How would you say your taste has changed since then? What kind of influences went into this MK Extra record?
Yeah, besides those, I'd say another one of the big staples when I was a teenager was Lagwagon. I forgot how I even came across them, but they were kind of my favorite like punk band, and um, that those guys are kind of in terms of like punk and production, because that let's see, their album "Let's Talk About Feelings" was like a really big like central like not just the songs but like production wise, it was like the
Sounds
best punk music I had heard like production
yeah,
wise.
really full. Like
Yeah,
May 16th, the
yeah,
song May 16th. It's just got this.
yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like big radio rock almost.
Mhm.
Like, but still really not like polished in a way. But the
Yeah,
impact of it is really. It's
yeah,
not like lo-fi metal or lo-fi punk.
yeah.
It sounds good. I agree.
Early days. And those are like the early days of that kind of music actually having it
Mm.
sound like that. So it was like, and even like Blink 182. That's when they started putting out their bigger ones. It was like just to hear them like in
Yeah,
that setting was just so cool.
yeah, I agree. Especially when so much punk previously was most of the bands didn't have those resources and like there's whole genres of punk and metal that every single recording is really really low quality and like that's what you get
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that can be like a barrier for
yeah,
entry for like so many people even if they like the music it just
yeah,
sounds crappy.
sure, yeah.
Hey, what the heck does MK Extra even mean?
Hmm. Um, yeah, it's I tried to do this project a couple years ago and then hated what I was doing kind of. And it had a different name. And I hated the name too. It was like long lines and it was like
Hmm,
double L. Like
bummer.
I didn't like it. I don't know why. I liked it when I first chose it, and then it didn't take long to just like be super over it. And
Mm,
the songs, the songs I was writing just like 2 years ago were not. Uh, I don't know. I wasn't like feeling great about them at the end. It kind of made me rethink about like how I was writing and what I was writing, and I was getting really back into. I mean, I've always loved punk rock, but I was really getting back into like listening to it every day, pretty much, and going back into albums I hadn't heard in years and years, and finding new stuff. And so, anyways, sorry I got off the topic here, but I
mm,
say that to say like I kind of wanted something that was exclusively like very punk rock because I had not really been in I've never really like been in a band that was just a straight up punk band, and I was like I feel like that's what I want to do, like that's what everything was pointing towards. So
and so for
um,
the viewers that don't know what the heck that means, why is MK Extra a punk rock name?
yeah,
I'm making you say it.
yeah, I know, I'm like winding trail to it. Yeah, no, it's a reference to MK Ultra.
Which is
The
a wait, hey, I thought that was a fake made up thing on Netflix shows.
I know it's
It's
apparently
not?
no, it's the men who stare at goats. They did mind control, and no, they yeah. I mean, I don't know enough to summarize it. It's the big
No, it's
drug
yeah,
experimentation thing
I'm
that
sure
you've
you
heard of.
do. So it's referencing like um covert uh corrupt government activities.
Yeah,
What
over.
does the extra mean? Is that a reference to the slang term of being extra?
Yeah, yeah. That was the idea was. I Another idea I had was MK Basic, but that wasn't nearly as fun. So it was
Yeah, I
like
love MK Extra a lot more.
like a little modern with it, and
Makes more sense too with the ultra extra. It's
yeah.
funny.
So
Um,
I thought it was funny when I first thought of it, and it made me
I
laugh.
love it. It's good. It's clever. Let's talk about your upcoming album. Um, were there any sonic references or inspirations production wise? I know you mentioned Lagwagon. What kind of sound were you going for when you recorded all these songs?
Yeah, generally speaking, um, yeah. I mean, let's talk about feelings is a good reference, but like, um, I feel like there were some old Get Up Kids records that I like. I don't. I kind of grew out of the Get Up Kids. I don't love the Get Up Kids as much as I used to, but there are the albums that like production wise just like still love the quality of the sound. So like Something to Write Home About by the Get Up Kids was something I loved because they mostly because of the similarities in our instrumentation, I think. So I have like there's I wouldn't say heavy keyboards, but definitely like present,
Prominent.
present
Yep.
along with the guitars. And so that was always something I loved about, those guys and the Anniversary and Reggie and the Full Effect and just those bands who are able to balance that kind of buzzy synth sound along with the guitars. And so it's always something I kind of drawn towards sound wise. Um, I don't know. I'm trying to think of another interesting album to or band or recording or something, but um, I always remember I used to every time we went into studio, we were like told the person behind the controls that we wanted to sound it like Weezer's Pinkerton, and it was like they'd always roll their eyes. Like they're like it's not gonna sound like if I make it sound like Weezer's Pinkerton, it's not gonna sound like Weezer's Pinkerton, friend.
I remember hearing Pinkerton as a teenager and being like, "Oh, that's the way my drums sound in my room."
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah,
in a good way. Like I liked playing along to it because
yeah,
when I played to other stuff, I was like, it doesn't sound right because there's not like 20 microphones
right. Yeah,
on my kit in a
yeah.
crappy room
No, I loved
hearing
that.
it.
I loved
So yeah,
that.
of
Yeah,
that raw sound.
vibe of
Elvis
that.
Costello has that same drum sound on this year's model.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like really similar, like blown out.
Mm.
Love
Yeah,
it.
I can never quite figure that out myself, like how to do that. But that's because I know almost nothing about the technical stuff behind that and how to achieve how to achieve. I'm like purely
Yeah,
by
I think
ear,
like
like
compression and like tape, like driving the tape really hard.
sure.
You can almost hear like where the tape can't the signal like overloads it. You hear like this like nice distortion almost.
Yeah.
What did you is there new programming happening on this record?
Um. Yeah, I programmed the bass track. The drum track is programmed up to a point. I basically build I build the drums so that I can learn how to play them because I like I'm not a good enough drummer to just kind of like
Yes, you are. He's a great drummer, by the way.
well I
No
should say
lie.
in the context of playing with myself and recording myself it's like really hard for me to just like come up with the drums first. So I'll do like the garage band, the garage band background drummer to like fill out the structure of the song and figure out how it's gonna all go. And then sometimes I'll just rip a fill out of there that I liked that the drummer did and copy it through. I have an electric drum kit that I everything ends up in MIDI, so all the missed hits you can just fix and make it sound really tight and
So, what
polished.
kind of sounds are you triggering with that kit? Like, what are we hearing? What sounds are we hearing on the record? Like,
Um,
what software is it coming from?
those are Garageband drums.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Have you listened to Kyle M? He's like Kyle Mooney's latest record. It was
Oh,
all recorded in GarageBand too. That's the only
okay.
reason I
Yeah.
brought it up. But another major release recorded in GarageBand.
Yeah.
I've been messing with GarageBand on my phone just to make like videos, and
Yeah.
it's powerful. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's really, really flexible.
So
I like it
good.
because it's like the ease of use makes it so easy to like write and compose with because you're
Yep.
not hung up with the technical stuff as you're doing it. So that's
Yep.
kind of how the song lives until I'm ready to actually do the final recording. So I'll keep the bass track. I'll just export out of Garage,
GarageBand. Nice.
and I'll take everything into Adobe Audition, which is where I do
Okay.
my
Dang. Avant garde. That's great.
little Frankenstein operation.
I don't think I've ever heard of anyone using Audition for like multi-track mixing. That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know it's definitely not um you know the industry standard for any of that stuff really, but it works really well. and I have a lot of experience in it through work. So I haven't wanted to learn
Yeah.
uh, Pro Tool. You know, I've watched hours and hours of people do Pro Tools over their shoulders, but it's not something I've learned or anything.
The best DAW is the one that you feel comfortable working in.
Yeah,
Whatever, it doesn't matter what it is.
sure.
What about guitars? Did you use GarageBand amps too? Or
Um,
how did you do guitars?
I have Marshall. I have a Marshall. Gosh, I'm not even remember the name of it. But it's like a little two speaker combo. And I use the stuff out of there, and then um, the sounds out of there, and I have a pedal. It's basically just a classic overdrive pedal.
Does it have like an out, or are you miking it up?
No, I'm miking it. Yeah.
Nice.
So I have a little,
What kind of microphone?
not a good enough one. That's where I want to start. I'm piecing some things together. I have a very hold on just a second.
Axler. Every time I see guitars on this channel, I say Axler. No, I just
Oh yeah, I'll pull,
I'm gonna start now.
pull that up next. Um, I was just like, it's one of those cheap like podcasts. It's not super cheap, but it's one of
Little
the
condenser mic. It looks like condenser.
condenser mic for podcast,
Nice.
and it's it's good enough for what I'm doing right now. But I would love to get something a little nicer. But yeah, it's a little home office recording. So I basically just do the rawest sound in I can get, and then anything added is mostly in like I'll put delay on in Audition.
Let's talk about synths and like keys. How did you get those sounds on the record? Are they soft synths or keyboards you had, or how'd you do that?
I think for the most part, those are GarageBand synth sounds. And I kind of generally just pick a couple that I stick to. You can kind of go in the background and EQ a little bit of the sound that's playing. So I have a couple saved that are kind of my go-to, like buzzy, real buzzy
Yeah,
ones with enough
square
tone.
wave.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and that's pretty much it. But I do have an electric piano that I have used more for like effects type of things. It has a lot of voices on it. It can be like a vibraphone and xylophone and organs and stuff. So I've done a couple songs where I've like padded it out through organ sounds on there. So I kind of just lazy and go to the GarageBand one though. But
Oh,
sometimes there's
they
like
sound good.
keyboard, and sometimes there's keyboard parts I actually have to play with my hands because
Mhm.
some simple like one-liner melody things I can just kind of map out in MIDI. And then, but
Do you
um,
have a controller that you can plug in and trigger soft sounds?
I borrowed one from my cousin, but I don't have. I'm gonna get one because that
Yeah,
was really nice to have for sure.
yeah. But
Need something
any
like
MIDI controllers, it's just the flexibility and it just opens up so many worlds.
that.
It's
Hmm.
crazy. It's like what I would have dreamed of as a kid.
Yeah,
Seriously.
yeah, and that's kind of yeah, totally. It totally like unlocked a different level of, quality because I grew up not like I hate myself, my past self for being so flippant and about just like any of the technical side of music like instruments like just maintenance like learning my instrument about like how to take care of it, take it apart, know anything about what's going on inside
Yeah.
of it and stuff. I've always just been just very like just music focused where I'm like, oh, don't bother me with all these these
No, like
technical things. And
you'd
now I'm
show up with
like,
your
oh
guitar
god damn.
just like out of a
Yeah.
case
Yes.
and
Yeah.
all and like you
I
obviously
hate
like
that I don't
you didn't
want I
hate
want
your
to
guitar, but like you obviously weren't that concerned
yeah.
about its
Exactly. There was
state.
something about the way I was raised. Something about the way I was raised. I was just like, yeah, I don't know. there's that. I didn't. It took me a long time to develop like that care because that guitar, the Aria I've been playing for years, was in such bad shape like 2 or 3 years ago. And then I took it into Milano's and well, first I took the stuff out of it and tried to do it myself, and then I realized it was way beyond my my skill set to do a hollow body rewire. But I learned a
I
lot about how it works for sure.
yeah,
I had to walk into the Milano's repair shop and just kind of put my guitar in a sack of all the stuff I pulled out. I'm like, can
yeah.
you put this back together? And then
Yeah, it
they
seems like a huge pain with the hollow bodies.
yeah.
Totally.
And they like set the guitar up and everything as well. So I got it back and it was just in like amazing condition. And so ever
Yeah.
since then, I've been like, I'm gonna keep this thing just looking great, sounding great. So that's been
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, setups are easy when you just learn the basics. But then
Hmm.
you'll start to encounter like the more nuanced things like, oh, a Floyd Rose.
Hmm.
Oh, or like, oh, a hollow body. Like, how the hell my
Yeah.
ES335, the switch is like iffy, and I'm just dreading the day that it stops working completely because
Yeah.
I like pull the intestines out of it basically.
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
what do you think? We kind of talked about this a little bit, but so with all the changes that we've seen since we were growing up and with now, what do you think music production will look like in like 15 more years?
Oh man, I don't know. It's hard to like uh picture it. It's hard to picture how it can get more accessible. Things like GarageBand and things like that. There's I'm sure a trillion, drum beat
Yeah,
apps and stuff,
yeah,
and people can learn music and recording and DJing and yeah, I can't imagine except other than just like everyone's talking about what AI is going to do to everything. And so I imagine it'll have some effect on music production and uh, I don't know in what way. Like, I can imagine someone like me benefiting from a thing where I can type in a prompt and say, make this sound more like blah, 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 and then have it kind of have mix itself into a different version. But I don't know. That doesn't really appeal that much to me, at least right, like that kind of thing. Because I don't know. I enjoy taking the stuff apart and building a mix from the ground up.
yeah. It's fun.
I have a lot to learn about it, but I love learning and just like doing it. And um, so I don't know, man. Yeah, I imagine more people will be able to do it. It seems like that's the end goal for most of the stuff is making it all more accessible. But it's there's already so much being produced and so much to try to break through as a musician as it is. So it's kind of like there's part of you as a musician that's like I don't want it to get any easier, like.
Right.
But it's always good when it does.
How do you respond to the idea that songwriters, musicians, entertainers have no place discussing politics or representing their opinions in their music or even just on stage?
Um, it's laughable to me that people ever make that argument. It's um, I don't know if that I just got done I saw a video today of um the parking lot of Yucca Tap Room. I think it's from today.
Saw
It
it
seems like
too.
it's
I saw
happening
it too.
today,
Yeah.
where it's just filled with fucking, I don't know if it's ICE or it's multiple
Couldn't
law
even tell what they
enforcement
were.
agencies.
It
Yeah.
wasn't even clear. They just looked like they had
They're
like
all in
military
unmarked
camo on, basically.
SUVs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just like that kind of thing. Like, I don't know how you can go, they're coming for, the people who are making the the things that get people excited and get people mad. And, they know that art and music is important, and that's probably why they're camped out, right outside. There's nothing else in that
I
in
know
that
it's a hilarious
thing. It's
place to do
like a
that.
pool bar and a, a music
Yeah,
venue.
yeah.
But no, I that just made me think about like, yeah, there's how do you write anything about like the world without somehow taking a stance on something? You know, you don't have to overtly write political music. You know, my one of my favorites, Hot Water Music, they're like very like kind of apolitical in their language, like in the lyrics. They don't um they're not they're not like a No Effects or an Against All Authority who's just like this is a fucking speech about
Propaganda,
yeah, propaganda. Yeah.
like journalistic details of like
Yeah, exactly.
an
Yeah.
event.
They're very like poetic about it, but it's still I can think of, you know, a handful of Hot Water Music songs that I consider really like politically charged songs, but I don't think they're probably not objectively look like that by everyone. So um I do love the really direct stuff. Like Rage Against the Machine is one of my just like longest like that was the first album I bought with the first CD I bought with my own money was Evil Empire because I had listened to my brother's the previous album, the self-titled one. So that kind of stuff has always been in my blood, and so I can't understand people who are like leave it out of it. You know, there's obviously genres of music where it's not like the main driving force, but it's like I've elected to be a punk musician, so you know, I'm not going to be one of the people who are trying to quiet down the voices of other people, you know. I think it's super important, especially as things are escalating to like, you know, on never before seen situations politically, with the Trump administration just doing the most insane uh, out in the open stuff. Like, you know, you and I have been talking about what's been going on behind the behind the scenes and behind the curtain for years, but now it's like
Everyone sees it.
everything's thrown upside down because there's no curtain anymore, and it's just
Yeah,
like,
out in the open.
yeah. So yeah, I love writing political stuff, but I get a really um I think that's part of that was part of starting the punk project with MK Extra here was just kind of you know the things escalating in the world and politics. I just needed something that was kind of would match the energy that I was feeling I needed to express. So
Last question. So this is a lightning, and hopefully this becomes a tradition on the channel. I'm going to give you like 10 seconds to answer each one of these. I'll put like a timer on the screen. The question is who killed, and then blank. Who killed blank? Who killed
Sure.
blank? First question. Who killed JFK?
JFK. Okay. Probably the mob, directed by the CIA is what I
Okay,
would land
great.
on.
Time. Perfect. Who killed MLK Jr.?
That was definitely the FBI. I don't,
With 5 seconds to spare.
yeah, like, I don't know what else to say about it. I think it's even on Wikipedia. I think that's like that's an accepted one, maybe.
Who killed John Lennon?
Um, I know the Chapman guy's name. I'm uninformed on John Lennon's the details of his assassination, so I imagine it's the guy, but I open
All right.
to
I recommend everyone read Who Killed John Lennon?
okay.
Or was it Mark David Chapman? Or
Okay,
was it?
sure. That's what I'm like.
It's actually written by a
Anytime.
lawyer, an English barrister,
Okay.
and it's horrifying actually to read.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out because
I also recommend watching the U.S. versus John Lennon. I think that's the name of the documentary
oh,
about how
okay.
he was like wiretapped and
Yeah, yeah.
marked as a threat
See, that's
right
where I'm
before he
like
died.
anyone who is in that situation who then like dies randomly some other way, that's where I'm like, yeah, that's a red
Perfect
flag right
segue for our next one. Who killed
there.
Bob Marley?
So yeah, I know a little bit about this being like a foot infection, but that there's questions. I don't know a lot about. I know that it's.
Dude, the story for this one is crazy. The son of the CIA director
Uh-huh.
posed as a photographer, showed up at a Bob Marley festival. This happens like a few days or a few weeks after Bob Marley and his band were shot at, and everyone survived, even though they all caught bullets.
Oh wow.
Miracle. God's
Sure.
real.
Yeah.
Um, and then, like a few days later, CIA director's son is there as a photographer already. Makes sense. Gives
Yeah.
Bob Marley a gift of these boots, and Bob Marley tries them on, I guess because apparently it's a Rastafarian tradition.
Sure.
And then he goes, ow, and he pulls them off, and there was just a steel wire in the boot
Oh my
that
God.
poked into his foot
Yeah.
when he was playing soccer and it broke and it was
Uh-huh.
cancerous. That's exactly where the wire entered his foot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But the story is that he was too Rastafarian to seek medical treatment. And that's not even
Yeah, yeah, I
true.
think
He
that's
was
yeah.
seeking medical treatment, and one of the doctors treating him was literally a Nazi scientist doctor.
Yeah, I mean
Like,
the ways that way of with the steel, I'm like I remember hearing about ideas like that floated for killing JFK, like the same
yep,
ways, like slipping like poison, like oh,
yep,
I forgot the weird ways they were gonna do it, like with a jacket or something. Anyways,
all kinds of stuff. The
yeah,
last one,
sure.
who killed Kurt?
Oh man, I don't know.
Hard hitting
Yeah.
questions on punk guitar lessons.
I don't know. This one I'll just give a straight up I don't know because I've heard Courtney Love theory and I don't know any other I don't know. It was officially a suicide, right? But I've heard of Courtney Love.
Mm-hmm. The weirdest thing is that one of the cops, detectives involved in the case, got murdered by a random motorist he pulled over like a month or two after.
Oh yeah.
And then it turns out he was probably a dirty cop and that he probably knew Courtney through like drugs.
Okay.
But anyway, there's a guy in prison for it who's just probably just like completely a patsy.
Sure.
That one gets really weird. Is there anything else you want to say? When does the album come out, and what is it called?
Um, I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't have a full vision yet for it all. I don't know exactly how many songs. But I'm just kind of doing the building up some singles and then uh down the road I'll figure that out when I have a handful of songs. Um, I'm just, I'm a 41-year-old dad who I have a work from home job, so I uh just this is my, this is what I do to for my creative expression, and I would love to go out and like play rock shows and uh do a whole actual proper campaign, for an album or something, but this is what I can do right now, and I'm having a ton of fun. And I think like is if I can just put out a song every month or two, then I can see what I can do from there. But that's kind of what I'm trying to kind of just start a rhythm of like regularly making stuff because it's been so long. But
And for now, Live Laugh Luigi is available by MK Extra, streaming everywhere.
tomorrow, the second single will be out. So by
Okay,
the
tell us
time
about
this is
that.
out,
What's the next one?
it's called Hell Is Now. And it's a really fun song about basically it's kind of a religious out not a religious but like a philosophical outlook type of thing, where I talk about uh, the story of Abraham and Isaac, kind of like the Bob Dylan song where he's like starts off by telling the story of
Love it.
Abraham and Isaac, and but it kind of goes ends in just like, fuck Abraham. What was he was about to kill his son because God told him to, kind of thing.
Reminds me of the scene in Year One. Do you remember that movie?
Oh my God, I saw it once a long
Yeah,
time ago. I don't
it's
remember.
it's really good. Written by Harold Ramis, and the whole time they're basically like satirizing the Bible, and it
Yeah, yeah.
shows Abraham about to sacrifice
Oh,
um,
yeah.
his son, and uh, these cavemen who Jack Black
Hmm.
and Michael Cera just interrupt, and like all of a sudden that's like God staying his hand.
Yeah.
He's like, God sent these people. So it's funny, like
Yeah.
critiques the Bible and then like kind of
Yeah.
interweaves with it.
Sure.
But yeah, same idea of like that's insane. That is insane. Cutting off the tip of your dick,
Critical. Yeah.
insane,
Critical
crazy,
thinking over. Yeah.
crazy. It's become normalized at all.
Yeah.
Like demon stuff. Demon. We always say that. Like that sounds like demon shit. Like if
Hmm.
you were like, I'm like literally, it's my religious belief to mutilate my penis. I'd be like, that's a cult. What the hell?
Yeah.
What are you?
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
don't do that. I
Yeah.
don't think it's a good idea. Okay, that was Trevor from MK Extra. Hell is Now will be released on June 12th. So as of the time this comes out, it's already there for you to go listen to. Thank you, Trevor Denton from MK Extra.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.